shine
Yes.
for him. But you can't polish your shoes tomorrow, so you're
Right.
up
Where she should go to
No,
the rabbi first or
but
something like that.
no, shoes shine for him. You have to shine your shoes. But
You're not a
Gentlemen, I'd like to, while we're getting our Seidel Derech, I would like to start the learning sponsors for today, and then we can go on with the Yeshir. Okay, learning sponsors, A Year of Learning, Friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi Ben Zev, Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir, Bella and David Adler, in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef a Kohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emerita, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka Bat Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza Bat Yosef Chaim Vachava, Hanan Ben Moshe Eliezer Vachana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi V'Tzipora, Isha Ben Yoel Moshe Cohen Vachana, Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Harav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel, friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, friends and family of Siggy Bessler, Shalom Shraga Ben Dov, friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer Ben Yisrael Aaron, Sarah Alpert in memory of her husband, Harav Tzvi Lipa Ben Hillel. A month of learning by Carol and Josh Sanborn, in memory of her father, Yoshua Shia Ben Moshe Yehuda HaKohen, Ike and Evelyn Blachor, Hakarat HaTov for his continuing recovery from Eliyahu. Henry Katz and children in memory of his wife, Lila Leah Mincha Bat Yehuda, Malin Haran Haller in memory of his mother, Fega Bat Yaakov, Andrea David Dolman in memory of her mother on her 20th Yortzeit, Ada Tzina Bat Shimshon. A week of learning. Gentlemen, please. Andrew and Stephanie Becker in memory of his sister, Yocheved Bat Ze'ev. Evelyn and Isaac Blacher in memory of her mother, Pero Rivka Bat Rav Menachem Mendel Eliezer. Dita Luxemburg in memory of her mother, Martha Gittler, Charna Bat Yeshaya. Baruch and Dina Rabinowitz in memory of his father, Zeb Ben Chaim. Rena and Alan Mosak, please. Okay, in memory of her father, Yosef. Today is the what date? Right? 23rd. So that's it for today. Yes. When Hashem is having a Leah Krinker, a few about these Shemot, yeah.
Coming or not coming?
Yes, by Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, we're both sides. We're Rabosa, we're on Kuf Yud Bays, the second line from the bottom. I'm Ravina. But yesterday we spoke. There are two things we spoke about. We speak about there are times when we write a paper against the person, either because they refuse to show up at Beis Din or they refuse to carry out what the Beis Din said. Both of those are reasons to write what we call an excommunication for a person, or to excommunicate verbally, or to write it, but we excommunicate the person for not showing. Beis Din has to have teeth, you understand, to be able to make the people do what they're supposed to do. So, but we're very understanding, and particularly remember today we're used to communication is incredible. Anywhere in the world, everybody communicates with everybody, but it wasn't like that in the earlier times. And there was no texting, exactly. They didn't have texting. That's right. There's no texting, etc. So we had to have ways to know that we're communicating with a person, and we can't always interpret a non-appearance as a lack of compliance. That's the point. Sometimes a person doesn't appear. They don't mean not to comply. They got stuck, whatever happened. So we have norms to determine when we consider a person to be non-compliant. Amar Avini said, "Yeah, even Zimnam Puma the Itasaba Puma the Shiva." We're going to see a second. We can say, listen, we can have a woman in the town or neighbors. Let them know. Tell the guy that we want him to show up at Beis Din. We can give notification to summons the guy to Beis Din. Let a woman is gonna, to let him know, or somebody in the neighborhood. Okay, below Amran El Delesi B'mata. But when is that true? That's only true when the guy's not in town that day. So why? But that means why? Because the messengers will take the job seriously. If the guy's in town low, then we can't rely on those people. Why? Because we're afraid. We're going to say what? We're going to say that the messengers that we sent never told him why. Because they said to themselves, the Basin will find him. He's in town, so no problem. But don't tell him. So we only rely on these people, these incidental proxies, right, to summon the guy, and they're going to take the job seriously. Another condition, the same thing below Amran, the lo chalif ababa de beidina. The same thing also has to be what? That when the guy's going to come home, he's out of town today, so they have to they're going to let him know when he gets back. But also it has to be what? That on the way home he doesn't pass the Beis Din. Of a chalif ababa de beidina, if he's going to pass the Beis Din on the way home, then again we don't rely on these incidental messengers. Why? The Amri, because they're not going to take their job seriously. They're going to say, the Beis Din will find him. He's going to pass by the Beis Din. So we only rely on these, and a third caveat below Amran. Again, we only rely on these kind of incidental messengers. If he's coming home that day, if he's not going to come home that day, again, we can't rely on incidental messengers. Why? They'll say okay, because we have to say what? They're not going to keep in mind the job that long. One day they'll keep in mind, but if he's only coming home later, they'll already forget the job. We cannot rely on them. So we can only rely on these type of people, okay, when the guy's coming back, he's not in the city, and he's coming back the same day. And when he's coming back, he's not going to pass by the Beis Din. The Gemara says, what happens when we did write a paper of excommunication against the person for non-compliance. Okay, if we wrote an excommunication against the guy because he didn't show up at the Beis Din when we summoned him, even though he says I'm coming, we don't tear it up until he actually shows up. If we wrote an excommunication because he refused to comply with the instructions of the Beis Din, we told him go pay the guy, he didn't pay. Again, until he actually pays, even if he says I'm going to pay, no, until he actually pays, we only tear it up below. But the Gemara says that on one of these cases, the halacha is not so. When it says like it's came into Amar Tzaisanam, when a person says, okay, Karina, if a person says, I'm going to pay, I'm going to do what you told me, then we can already tear it up, because if it's coming, don't tell me you're going to come. Okay, Amar Rav Chisda says, Kovin. Okay, now how do we Kovin Zman? Okay, how do we summon a guy to Beis Din? So we tell him to come immediately. We said Kovin Zman Sheni. So listen, show up on Monday. Okay, now if he doesn't show up on Monday, Chamishi. Okay, by Chamishi we tell him, look, show up on Thursday. Okay, he doesn't show up on Thursday. We said come on Monday and Thursday, the days the Beis Din meets. Zimna one after another. We don't give them all at once. We just say come Monday, you don't come Thursday, you don't come Monday. Okay, when he doesn't come the second Monday, on the next day on Tuesday, after the second Monday, we immediately write a paper of excommunication. Ravasi came to visit Rav Kana. There was a certain woman, they told her in the evening, they summoned her to Beis Din, and it was Safra, they already wrote an excommunication the next morning. They didn't wait 3 days. What happened? Amalei said to him, don't you know the principle that we give the person a Monday, a Thursday, a Monday? Amalei said to him, no. He says, honey, Millie, when is that true? That's by people who are traveling out of town. They're business people. Gabra, the honest related b'mata, a person who gets in trouble and he's not in town. So this woman who's not going anywhere came into Ita b'mata, since she's in town, she's not a business lady. So the second she doesn't come, that's already non-compliance. She's already rebelling, and we write the paper. And the truth is, it goes both ways. Anybody who's not a traveler, we can do it immediately, or even a woman, if she's a business lady, then we'll give her the same thing, Monday, Thursday, Monday, like anybody else.
Circumstance.
Yeah, circumstances. You have to know the case. Rav Yehuda, lo yabin and zimna. Now, when we want to summon a person to Beis Din, we have to be careful that we know. Remember, we're going to punish the person for not showing up. So we have to make sure that we give them a fair chance to show up. Okay, Lobium and Nissan, everybody is busy harvesting their crops. You don't send a summons to Nissan. The guy can't make it. Lomi Tishrei, not in the days of Tishrei when they harvest the grapes. Okay, but well, not on Erev Yontif. You don't summon the guy. Okay, but we don't summon the guy on Erev Shabbos. But to summon a guy in Nisan to come the next month, or be a Tishrei, the bus or Tishrei, or for Tishrei to come the next month, coming in, that you can do. Even though the guy's busy, there's nothing wrong with sending a summons now for a month from now. That's not a problem. However, it'll be Yomi Tishrei, the bus or Tishrei. Okay, we could do the month later. Coming in, that we do. But this way we don't do. Even though from one month to next we do. But from Erev Shabbos to come after Shabbos, okay, for next week. And really the same halacha is also Erev Yontif. If look, coming in, we don't do it. What my time? What's the reason? The Shabbos the person is busy, is going to forget. Knows when there's a whole month between the summons and the time that he has to come. Even if the guy forgot for a minute in his busyness, he's got enough days to remember, so it's going to be fine. The problem with from Erev Shabbos to next week, or for Erev Yontif to right after Yontif, the person is likely to forget a little bit, and there's not enough time to recover, so we can't consider it. We can't really consider it non-compliance. Yeah, right. Amrav Nachman, Avin and Simna lo live kala b'kala. On Shabbos, everybody would come to the drasha. If you look in the, if you're familiar with certain, particularly with Sephardic books like Amloes, for example, so they used to sit in shul all Shabbos. We're not used to it. They come to shul. They barely, when they went home, they ate quickly. They came back to shul, and all Shabbos long, people who worked all week long. God bless them, really holy Jews. People who worked all week long on Shabbos, they sat in shul all day, and the rabbi taught them Torah all day long. And that's why you see these books, you see Sephardic books where the whole Torah Kula is taught through the portion of the week. And the portion of the week, then they teach, every time they come to halacha, they teach all the halachas of this and the midrashim, everything. They're loaded with all the midrashim and the halachas. The rabbi would teach everything. So when the people come to the drasha on Shabbos, no. This is a drasha on Shabbos. So when the person comes to the drasha on Shabbos, no. This is on Shabbos when the person comes to Erev Shabbos on Shabbos, and the person comes to the drasha on Shabbos. It's a good time. Everybody's there. That's a good time to summon the guy. We don't do it. Okay, why is that? You're going to see why. Because the people nobody's going to come and learn. They're going to find their vulnerable. Nobody's going to come and learn Torah. Or when we give the drashas 30 days before Yontif, we teach the halachas of Yontif. Same thing. When the person comes to these shiurim, we don't summon them. Why? Because it's going to discourage people from coming to learn. You have the coming to Rav Nachman. When they came to Rav Nachman and they told him that the drasha here, tell these people they have to come to court. He says, get out. He says, what for your court cases? That's why I got people together to learn. They're here to learn. Leave them alone. Leave me alone. Don't bother people when they're learning. But these days, when there are people who are cheaters, and what they do is they purposely come to the drasha so you can't summons them. And then you have to worry we're worried about such a thing. And so, depending on the circumstances, we'll even give a summons to a guy when he's at this year. Now at the end of our mission, remember we said this was according to one opinion. Okay, we said one that instead of saying if there was real estate. That the children have to pay. No, even if it's not, it depends. It means to say that the object, which really from Ikra Din, they shouldn't have to pay back the children, but they have to pay back. Why? If it's Davar Shes Brachwais. Masni lo Rebbe Shimon Rebbe taught his son Rebbe Shimon in this way. That we mentioned this before. Lo Davar Shes Brachwais Mamash. We don't mean real estate. If the father left as an inheritance that by rights the kids should own. But what? It's a cow that they're plowing with, or was a donkey that you draw from behind. Have to pay back, even though from the real law they don't have to pay it back. But they have to, even though they acquired it, they have to pay it back for the honor of the father, because everybody's looking. So that's the cow that this one stole, that the father stole. That's the thing. Everybody sees it. It's a disgrace for the father. But Rabbi asked this question to him. Mito Mesivela. What about a couch that the person reclines on? Shulchan V'Chalab, a table the person eats on that the father stole. Mahu, what's the law? In other words, do we say, look, it's the same thing? Everybody can know that that's the one that he stole, and therefore they have to give it back. We say, no, since that's inside the house, it's not outside the house. We used to everybody being in our houses today, wasn't everybody? Everybody wasn't everybody's houses all the time, and it wasn't like that. But people did come in; they could see it. He said, the pasuk says, what? If you give a chacham some, they'll become wiser. Why is that? Says here that you can understand Echanami. If the point is that it's recognizable, so even if people come into the house and they recognize it the same way as a cow or a donkey, you have to give back also the table or the couch. You have to give back. Okay, now we're going to talk about there are two reasons not to get benefit from stolen things. One, because it's stolen, you can't take it, or even certain things in theory, if legally you could take it, but it's not nice. You don't want to have any dealings with stolen property. So the two reasons why we're not going to deal. Now, I just want to explain that they had people who are customs collectors or tax collectors basically made deals. The king was smart. It's a lot of work to collect. It's a lot of work to collect taxes. So kings would sell the rights to the tax collection. So what would happen is, for example, let's say the king was going to collect $100,000. So somebody shows, listen, he says, I'll pay you $90,000 for the collection. So the king notes the king, the guy notes the king pays the guy. King's willing to give the guy, 10,000, and he'll collect the tax. So the king's finished. The king knows he's got his money and it's over. So the kings would sell the rights to tax collection or customs collection to people. The problem is that's all fine, and we have a rule. We're going to see in a minute called Dina de Malchusa Dina. There's such a rule as what that if a king owns a place, they have a right to make laws. So according to that, any company, but that's why we follow the laws of the country that we're in, because the guy owns the place, he has a right to make laws. Is a machlokas, yes, but some people hold therefore that won't apply in Eretz Yisrael because we all own the place. No king can say it's my place, I make the rules. We all own the place. However, you should know that even according to the people who hold it doesn't apply in Eretz Yisrael. That's only things that are for the king himself, but things that are for the benefit of everybody. Still have to follow the laws. So even if you held that no Jew has a right to boss you around in Eretz Yisrael and make the laws, but things that are going to benefit everybody, like they're collecting for the roads and for the this, etc., you still can't play around. So even according to that opinion, because that's for everybody. But anyway, okay, but that's not my real point. The point is, so what? So in theory, if a Jewish person was a customs collector or a tax collector, so it's a legal profession, and you'd have to, he's legal, and you'd have to pay him. The only problem is that there were guys who were not honest, or guys who did wrong. They collected not more than they were supposed to collect, or not what's the word? Not in equally. Yeah, they didn't apply the law in the proper way. That's one. Or the person took over themselves. In either case, in those cases, the Jew who did it is considered to be stealing. Well, the person is taking what they shouldn't take, or was self-appointed, so he's not legalized. He's not legalized by by dint of the law that the guy owns the place. He has a right to make laws. It's his place. He can make laws the way he wants. So in such a case, the tax collector would themselves be a thief. That's what we're going to see over here. Ain party limitavis amoxin. So if you have to make change, you don't make change from the coins in the customs box where you collect it, because that money is stolen. Or from the purse of the people who collect the head tax. It's the same thing. Both these people are considered to be thieves, and the money in the box and in the purse are stolen money. So either they're stolen, you don't want to take the money, or if they're not, it doesn't look nice. Nor do we take. We don't even take tzedakah from them. From these places, because again, it's stolen money. I will note to me talk based on, but if the tax collector or the customs guy wants to pay me money that's in his house, or money that he keeps in the marketplace, so it's not from that particular pile, you can take. There's not a problem. Tana, now we learn. Okay, we learn now, but even though we're worried about it, let's say you owe the guy a half a sella, and you don't have enough pennies to pay him, so you need to give him a big coin and get change. Can you get it? No, in Lodina, you're allowed to give him the big dinar, but no sense a shar, and you can let the tax guy pay you back the half a dinar in pennies. Why? Because in the end, because you're gonna have a loss. You're saving the money, then you shouldn't get the money. Okay, now we're going to start to deal with a very important sugya. Umosin, okay, we said 1 second. You want to tell me what? What do you mean? Are all customs collectors thieves? Now, what do you mean? Customs collectors or tax collectors are appointed by the king, and since the king owns the place, he has a right to make the rules, and therefore the Jews collecting collecting the customs or collecting the taxes is illegal. How come we consider it to be stolen money? Didn't Shmuel teach us that the king who owns the place has the right to make rules, and therefore the person who collects by dint of the king is legal, not a thief? Okay, now we're going to see this answer. We're going to have two answers that are given over and over again in different circumstances, but it's the same thing each time. In all these cases, you're saying people who theoretically could have been legal collectors are not. That's all that's going to happen. You're going to hear the same answer over and over again. People who theoretically could have been legal business of collecting taxes or customs, but in these cases they're not legal and they are thieves. Amrab Chanina Bar Kahan Amar Shmuel. He said, here's the answer. Why? Yeah, when is it? When is the tax collector a thief? I mean, when there's no set price, okay, but he's taking whatever he wants. Therefore, what? So his collection is not legal by dint of the king. It's illegal. He's a thief. Okay, the Bei Rav Yani Amr, they say another way, or it's where the guy appointed him. All of a sudden, some officer sets himself up and decides he's going to be the collector, not by dint of the king, okay, not the pleasure of the king, and therefore what? He's not covered by the king's right to make laws, and he's a thief. Now he could
Latitude, certain things, not how much like he makes the decision.
Yeah, but whatever it is, it has to whatever the circumstances, it has to be that the laws apply fairly and equally, etc. Not and by at the pleasure of the king. That's the bottom line. Now, once we made these answers, we're going to see the same solution in other cases. That what? The cases where you would have thought the person was a legal representative, the person is not. They're a thief. Some people say that these answers we gave were given a different set of circumstances, but it's a similar point. Now, what would happen? We're going to take one explanation. There are 2 points we have to see. You know that you're not allowed to wear shatnez. You can't wear a garment that we spun and wove and wove together of linen and wool. That's called shatnez. You can't do it. So now one question is, what if I don't wear shatnez, but I don't intend to use it as a garment? Okay, we can debate. A davar shein mistabel, a thing where I'm not intending to wear it for the purpose of a garment, is it asur or mutter? That's one thing. Okay, but a second point is like this. They used to, when the customs guy, they had, and this is famous, the customs guys wouldn't, we used to do this all the time legal. I'll tell you in a second. The customs guys didn't tax, they only taxed goods that you were transporting. But if you were wearing them, they didn't tax the clothing on your back. So if you had a really nice suit, they didn't tax the suit. So therefore what? One of the ways to get past the customs is what? Is instead of transporting your stuff, you wear it. We used to have it because when they were really ornery with the airplanes, you understand, they would weigh your bag and things like that. So we used to wear 6 things on our, you put on your shirt, your sweater, 2 jackets, your winter coat. You put it, you put everything on yourself so you get up through it. So here, in order to fool the meches, and rather than transporting the goods they're transporting, you would wear it. Okay, so it would be a way of slipping by the custom. So now we had a combination of these 2 laws. We learned, okay, we happen to learn, Mishlitis, lo yabash adam kilayim, okay, a person shouldn't wear these mixed materials which are forbidden, even though he has 10 other garments below, so he's not getting any benefit of this garment. He's already warm enough with 10 other things he's wearing. Okay, you're not allowed to do it in order to fool the customs. You're still forbidden to wear the shatnez. Now you realize what's the upshot is, wait a second. What's the problem? The problem is what? That you're wearing shatnez. There's no problem with cheating the custom. Masnisen, but let's say Rabbi Akiva. The Mishnah is not like Rabbi Akiva, the Tanya, because we learned Rabbi Akiva said you cannot fool the customs by wearing shatnez. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon Akiva, we have another opinion. So Rabbi Shimon says no. Rabbi Akiva says you can't fool the customs by wearing shatnez. So 1 second. I can understand this contradiction as far as the wearing of shatnez. It's not such a problem. But there's an argument. Tomorrow, one opinion, Rabbi Akiva Saba, a davar she'ein miskaven mutter. Okay, we hold what?
It's a matter of
that. What a thing that since you didn't intend to wear it as a garment to get any benefit out of it, it's not called wearing shatnez. You're allowed to. Umar Saba, one says no. Davar she'ein miskaven also no. Even if you don't intend to wear it as a garment, it makes no difference. You're still forbidden. But the point is what? But either way, anyway, you look at it. But that's only a problem of shatnez. But as far as fooling the customs, you're allowed to. Why are you allowed to fool the custom? You're allowed to fool the custom. Didn't Shmuel say the law of the kingdom is the law, and therefore what? Since the customs collector is legal, you're not allowed to cheat him. So what's going on? Rabbi Chanina Bar Kahana Mar Shmuel. So again, we answered like we answered before. Here's the second time. So 1, because there's no rules. Okay, so therefore the person is again a thief. It's illegal. Okay, or he's taking what he's not supposed to take. And the Rabbi Yani, they answered the same answer before. It's a person who was self-appointed. Again, he wasn't at the pleasure of the king, and therefore he's stealing. Some people give the same answer, a third case, in this circumstances. We learn the following: a person a person's going to take stuff from a Jew. So the Jew says, listen, and the person is going to take stuff from them, will care enough not to take truma, for example, or they'll be afraid of the king. So maybe I'll do is like the person will make a vow. He'll say like this: they say, you know what, that stuff is truma. It's forbidden. It's also to anybody not a kohen. He says, and if it's not truma, then he'll say he asers or he forbids himself, will make a neder that all the apples in the world are forbidden to him, or all grain is forbidden to him. So the guy will believe him. You understand? The guy will believe him. He's going to make that it really belongs to it's not permissible stuff. It really belongs to the kohen, or that it belongs to the king. So yes, we learn nodri and laharagim, people who are murderers. Okay, Jewish guys. Or people who are violent thieves, okay, lamosim, and to the tax collectors, okay, the customs collectors. He shall truma. The guy says, essentially he says, if that stuff is not coins and forbidden, this I have to do this and I can't do this and that. Oh, he says, if that stuff doesn't belong to the king, I'm going to be forbidden. So you're allowed to make these vows that are not true, so to speak, whatever it is, or fool him in order to do it. Even though the stuff is really not truma that belongs to the kohen, and even though the stuff doesn't belong to the king. So the Gemara says, 1 second, you're allowed to do it to the customs collectors. What do you mean? What the king decrees is legal for Jewish people also. Yeah. So the king has the right to. How come you're allowed to fool the customs collector? So for the third time we're answering the same thing. But it's talking again, but there's no rule. The guy is not collecting according to the set amount or no set amount. The Rabbi Amri, they said also, again, he says the same answer we said before. He appointed himself. He's not at the pleasure of the king, so he's a thief. So those are the guys you're allowed to fool. Rav Ashi Amri says what? B'moch is Canaan. Rav Ashi said what? It's talking about a non-Jew. Now I want to give an introduction here, and you'll always, in all these cases, there's always a serious shayla. We're going to be discussing. There's no question that it's forbidden to steal from a non-Jew. There's nothing to talk. It's forbidden. You can't steal from a Jew. You can't. We're going to see twice. We're about to make two different proofs that you're not allowed to steal from a non-Jew. However, we are going to learn about another thing, which is yeah, but you're not allowed to steal from a non-Jew. But however, we're all going to talk about something else. There will be cases we're going to talk about, and certain cases with certain people that, listen, I'm not going to steal. I'm just not going to give it to them. I'm not going to. I'll get there. I owe them. Maybe I'll get there next week. Maybe next year. Maybe in 10 years. Maybe. Yeah, but no. Well, so I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I'm just slow. I'm just teasing you a little bit. Yes, that's called no. So that's called hafkas halvaso. Not I'm going to take something away from him, but it may be I owe him, but I'll get there when I get there. You know, I said I'll get there when I get there. So we're gonna discuss such a thing. The only first, the 2 points. Once we're going to see this is a matter of Chil Hashem, or God forbid, making a profanation of God's name, which will always be. You can't do such a thing. But I want to explain something which is important, and this we have to have a much longer shiur to discuss these things. But the Torah certainly differentiates. Our whole life is differentiation, and people are not the same. Men are not women, and women are not men, and adults are not children, and children are not adults, and Jews are not non-Jews, and non-Jews are not Jews, and slaves are not free men, and free men are not slaves. There's everything. There's a free man, there's a slave, there's a Jewish slave, there's a Canaanite slave, there's a mamzer. Here, a mamzer is a person who did nothing wrong. A mamzer did nothing wrong, nothing. Yet their whole, I don't want to make you look in the wrong place. You'll see the yeshivas, there's certain older guys that never got married. He's a big time of what happened? He never got married. He's shy. He's so painfully shy. He never got married. Okay. The guy could be outside the gomer. He's a mamzer. That's what happened. That's what Hashem decreed on for whatever reason. That was that person's test in life. The person could be the greatest person period, and that's what Hashem gave him. There are rules, and we never said that there's nothing to talk about. The Torah, Hashem certainly did not give everyone the same status, not the same gifts, not the same challenges, and not the same blessing. Everybody in the world got a different thing, and that's up to God. God knows. but it's not. Huh? Exactly. Hashem gave everybody their challenge, and God is fair to everyone. Believe me, I don't know where they got this insane thing that religious people say life is not fair. God forbid, life is only fair, and Hashem is only just. We may not always see it. That's another story. But God forbid to think otherwise. Hashem is. Tzaddik Hashem is just and righteous in every way to the nth degree. We may not see it all the time, but God forbid to think otherwise. Is nothing down to the nth degree. And it says, and Ovel say, and Ovel that who was it? Rav Lopian used to say that Hashem is just to the degree of a person. If it's for a person to be decreed that the person's going to die. No, if every person in the world that's going to miss that guy doesn't deserve to miss him, the guy won't die. Can you imagine? The guy says once a month he meets the mailman. He says, good morning. How you doing? If the mailman doesn't deserve to lose a good morning, the guy's not going to die. That you want a just God is. You understand? If the mailman he meets once a month doesn't deserve to be missing his goodbye, the guy's not going to die. That's why you gotta. It's important. That's what I was going to say. It's good to be important to other people. You know, it'll help you. There was a guy, every year he used to come. Every Jewish father, every Jewish guy comes up. Rosh Hashanah, he's like, okay, me. What are you going? But look, the wife, the kids. What do they need me? He says, okay, bring them, put them through. Every year they put them through. The wife, the kids. Finally, one year comes up, Hashem, me, okay. Forget about me, the wife, the kids. They send up to the court. It's okay. You got life insurance. You can take him. He said, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But the answer is that Hashem is just in every degree. But my point is, not everything's the same, and we don't relate to every person the same. To give you an example, Rachmanis, you see it used to be by the Catholics. So they used to their best kid they would send to to be the priest. Rachmanis, so it's unfortunate. I don't mean to tease, but I'm teasing. But they were breeding intelligence out of their families. And so they took the best kid they sent out. Not they said they stopped them from having children. Now, if you look in the Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara, what do? Every Jewish man, who's he trying to marry? A Bas Tamid Chacham. Every Jewish man is trying to marry Bas Tamid Chacham, and every girl is trying to marry what? A Tamid Chacham. I said I used to tell my daughters when they were little. I said, girls, I said, let your father learn, and this way you'll be a Bas Tamid Chacham. Guys are going to want to marry you. I said, let's be quiet. Let me learn. And so the thing is like this. So if you think about it in the Jewish society, in theory, if things going right, every guy's got money. What does he do? He puts his money down. He's gonna. What do you mean? He's gonna get his daughter the best Tamid Chacham he can find. So interestingly enough, all the resources of the community are geared towards what? Towards improving, but towards bringing out the very finest the lineage in the society. The number one resources are going towards what? Talmidei Chachamim. So what do you mean? All the other people, are they peanut butter? No, they're not peanut butter, but everybody, the society at large, our whole Jewish society is geared towards what? Towards breeding upwards. That's exactly what's happening. That's what we're doing. Yeah. What do you mean? So we don't like us? We love everybody, but it'll be good for everybody if there's more time in Chacham. It's a better society. And it's a better thing. So are we embarrassed about it? No. What do you mean? I don't love anybody. I love you, but you're not number. You're a great guy, but you're not number one. You're not number one in this thing. There was guy Kissinger. He was famous. So when I was younger. So Kissinger was the most famous diplomat in the world. He used to be. So I used to learn a few feet away, but it's the crow flies. He used to come back and forth to the King David Hotel, which I hated that place. He's flying back and forth, etc., etc. He's a big famous guy. So in Israel, they didn't like him so much, Kissinger. So the story was Kissinger. Yeah. Kissinger was a big guy, though. He's a physically, not a little guy. So he went someplace in one of his travels around the world. He found a material that he loved for a suit. So he bought the material. He takes it to the tailor. He says, okay, I want you to make me a suit. The tailor said, Mr. Kissinger, I'm very sorry. This is very nice material, but you're too big. There's not enough material to make a suit for a guy your size. So he figures, whenever he travels a lot, every country in the world he goes to the tailor. He says to them, can you make me a suit? No, Mr. Kissinger said, it's a nice material, but you're too big. There's not enough material to make a suit. Finally gets to Israel. I figured, no, try one more time. He gets to Israel, he goes to the tailor. The guy says, fine, come back Monday. He figures the guy didn't even know. Who knows? Okay. Comes back Monday. The guy gives him a suit with two pairs of pants. So Kissinger looks at him. He says, look, I gotta tell you. So I have to be honest. He says, I've been all over the world. He says, what they told me is not material to make a suit. I come to Israel. You make me a suit with 2 pairs of pants. How's it possible? He says, Mr. Kissinger, in Israel, you're not such a big guy. He says, so the thing is here, we love everybody, but everybody's not the same. You're right. Listen, I love you, but you're not a Kohen. You can stand on your head. You're not a Kohen. You're not going to be a Kohen. You're not a Levi. You're not going to be a Levi. It's just not. You're not. There's certain mitzvahs you're not going to do. You're never going to do it. Certain mitzvahs only a woman does. Certain mitzvahs only. You're never going to do it. It's not your mitzvah. You're never going to get it. I love you very much, but you're not. That's not you. You could to be a tzaddik gomer. Yes, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be the most righteous, and you'll sit in the highest. Believe me, you'll sit in the highest place. No problem. No problem. Yeah, exactly. No problem. But you're not a Kohen. You're not. I know what the best guy in the world, but I can't marry you. That's all. That's the way it is. And then, so the thing is also, you're saying we're going to see when the Torah differentiates between Jew or non-Jew, etc. We just not a discriminatory thing of hatred, etc. God forbid, you hate people, yeah, you're a prostitute. If you're a hateful person, you're a primitive. You're a primitive. That we're not in the business of being primitives, etc. On the other hand, there's a great sensitivity. We understand that Hakadosh Baruch Hu made a world. There are differentiations. There's even a hierarchy, etc., etc. And there's some places we have to know. Our resources are things that look to you to be anti. Yeah, if I tell you that the whole Torah is pro-civilization and pro-enlightenment, yes, and all the resources of the Torah and Jewish people are geared towards raising the world to a higher level of morality and to give primary support to enlightenment and civilization. That's the way it is. So that's a preface. So if we're going to see here, there's going to be such a case that we're going to differentiate and say that there are cases where, to steal, no, but there may be cases where you have to where it's not going to be a chilul Hashem, etc. A person says, okay, I'm not in a rush to pay back. There's such a thing. Ask your local rabbi before you do it. Okay, and it needs great thought and great reasoning, etc. And it's not the norm anyway. I just give you that preface. And that being said, I'm going to go forward and read the Gemara. See, okay, but that's basically the story. And the cases are quite limited. Okay, Rav Ashi said, okay, b'mochas Kanani. He said, what he's talking about b'mochas Kanani, and that's the third answer, and that's unlike the other people who want to ignore this one. Life is there. We're talking about a case where he doesn't realize what's happening, and we're withholding from the guy, as we're going to see. The Tanya, because we learn, Yisrael Kanani Anas Shabolidin. Let's say a Jew and a Kanani Anas. The guy's not a good guy. He's a bad guy. Canaanite. He says, and we come to court. If I can show him as okay, if I can show that the Jew is right according to Jewish law, we possibly he's right according to Jewish law. Then Marlo, and I say to the non-Jew, it says that's our law. Okay, but Dini Kananim is okay. If I find out that according to the Goyish law, the Jew is okay, I quit him according to the Goyish law. But Marlon, I say to the guy, Kach Dinchem, that's your law. Being lab, if not, I can't boil over the keep. And then I try other ways to hold off, push off, postpone. That's what Yishmael said. You can't do it. I ain't boiled by keeping if they kiddush Hashem. Because we have an obligation to sanctify God's name, and there's a chance, God forbid, that the non-Jew will think badly about the name of God, so I can't do it. So the same thing over here. So okay. So therefore, what? So I see clearly that what the case here is the same thing that when we said that you're allowed to that even though what stealing from a non-Jew is forbidden, we're talking about a case where essentially the person is withholding from the customs guy who is a non-Jew. That was the answer. Okay, and he's just not paying his debt. Okay, Rekiva time of the Rekiva 1 second. It's kind of because Hashem was saying, but according to Bekiva, the only only reason to avoid this behavior is what? Because you're going to, God forbid, not to sanctify God's name, or to do the opposite, and to disgrace God's name, to desecrate God's name. Halek Kiddush Hashem, he says, if there's not a problem of sanctifying God's name, okay, boy, then we can postpone the non-Jew, and we can find roundabout ways to make the Jew not pay. Gezel Kanani Mishar, since when? Can you steal from a non-Jew? Of course you cannot steal from a non-Jew. Well, Tanya didn't learn. We're going to have 2 proofs today that you cannot steal from a non-Jew. Well, Tanya, one thing we learned. Number Shimon, there was a Dorsh Akiva Dash in this case. Okay, also, how do I know that stealing from a non-Jew is forbidden? So I'm just going to explain the case, and you'll see. We know that you cannot do business with produce on the seventh year. When a person does it, the Torah outlines a series of punishments. God forbid the person is sold as a Jewish slave, then a Jewish slave to a ger toshav, to a ger toshav, even to a non-Jew. Even it's sold to such a place that he has to draw water for the avodah zarah. And see how bad it is if a person does the wrong thing. But the point is, we're going to see in a minute that if a Jew sells himself to a non-Jew, we have an obligation to free the Jew, to rescue him by pay, but we have to pay the non-Jew, and we're not allowed to simply forcibly release the Jew from the non-Jew. We can't steal the Jew back from the non-Jew. We have to pay for it. So that's going to be the source. Simply to make it easy, that's going to be the source. You can't steal from the non-Jew. We can't simply come in and raid the non-Jew's place to take the Jew out. We have to. He sold himself. The Jew sold himself. Yeah, the Jew sold himself. The Jew sold himself. So he said, not hostage, right? Okay, so how do we know? Okay, how do we know? Talmud Lomar, because the pasuk told us when the Jew sold himself to the non-Jew, okay, he says, when he was sold to the non-Jew, Gula Tielo, he has to be what? They have to be redeemed by the Jewish people. But how do we know what? That he can't just forcibly spring him free. Let him go out without paying. Okay, you're not allowed to, because it says what? Because it says he has to redeem him for money. Okay, says the Gemara, should he overpay? You have to find the right price and pay that price. You have to pay the right amount, and that's the correct amount. That's what you do. But we see clearly that you can't steal from the guy. You can't just bring the Jew free. So Amar Rabbi Yosef, he says, "Lo kasha." He says, "No way. That's not a kasha." He says, Rabbi Kiva said you can't steal from a guy. So why is Rabbi Kiva, if it weren't the problem of desecrating God's name, why are you letting him withhold payment? The answer is what? He says, so the first thing we say, he says, he says, we said, Rabbi Kiva said that you could, what we think he's saying that you're allowed to steal from a non-Jew, it's talking about a true non-Jew. And when Rabbi Kiva said you can't steal from a ger toshav, was talking about a non-Jew who at least doesn't do avodah zarah. He at least doesn't do avodah zarah. He eats the bears and shavers, but he doesn't do avodah zarah. Amarle Abai said, I said, it's not true. You can't differentiate in that verse of the non-stealing. You can't differentiate between a ger toshav and a true guy. Abai says, they're both written there. All of those all of those categories are there. Why? Okay. In other words, a ger toshav, a guy who does do avodah zarah, and a guy are both written in the same place. They're all in the same place. Okay. So that's why.
But it says we get a ger with toshav.
Yeah, but we're gonna look. But they're two different. Right. You're right. But we're talking about both. We differentiate as both. One is a ger, and one's a toshav. But you're right. You're right what you said. Okay. Good for you. Okay. So okay. Well, the guy's going to sell himself. Not only is the guy being punished for doing business with seventh-year produce, not only to be sold to you, a ger, it can be sold to a ger, to a convert. Okay, because it was shenemar, as it says, lager. Well, it says they're also a ger. Below the ger tzedek, and not only to a true ger. Okay, we became completely Jewish. A ger toshav, even a ger toshav remains not Jewish. Okay, but who doesn't do avodah zarah? Leger toshav, because it's a ger toshav. Okay, but it says further mishpachas ger. It's also what to the family of the ger. Zelo v'kachav. It's even talking about what to a true idol worshiper. Okay, Keshu Omer, when it says ola aker, it says what, or even to the idol. Okay, which is to the idol of the family of the ger. Okay, the person is sold. He's so denigrated or so disgraced that he's sold in a way that he has to draw water and chop wood for the avodah zarah. So all those things, okay, all those things are the punishment. But you see that the pasuk there was taught when it said that you have to pay back. It was everything, including a true non-Jew. So you can't differentiate between a ger toshav and a non-Jew. So still we can understand how can Rabbi Kiva say that we can fool the tax collector were not for the problem of disgracing God's name. Okay, when he said clearly you can't steal from anybody. Lo kasha, he says not a kasha. Kan big zelo. When do we say what? To steal from the non-Jew, to take away what is his, you cannot. The kan, but here what we're saying, what? To simply not give him back what you have in your possession, that is okay. And the truth is, we're saying what? But when it comes to the to the customs collector, you're simply withholding rather than extracting. Amarle Abaya says, Eved Ivri,
He says, what are you talking about? Abai says, how can you say what you're saying? In the case above that you told me, the Abbot Ivri is also really what? It's just withholding payment. Why is that? Because the assumption is like this. Let's say a guy sells himself as a slave. So what he's really doing, he's saying, listen, lend me $500 and I'll pay you back with my work. The Jews, the guy sells himself. He says, lend me 500 and I'll pay you back. So all the 500 is also what is really just a loan. So then what's the problem? How come you don't have to, how come did you learn, okay, that you can't steal from the case of the Jewish slave, okay, and you differentiate between stealing and not paying back. It's also a case of not paying back. The Jewish slave essentially is holding a loan from the non-Jew. Amalei Abai says, Abed Ivri, of course I'll buy. So, but then that case is not a case of stealing either. That's a case of withholding payment for a loan. So the answer is Rava Lataime. Rava says no. He says Rava doesn't believe that is the circumstance. In a certain respect, it's not literal, but he believes what? That a Jewish slave, when he sells himself, the truth is, in a certain respect, his actual body, the guy owns his arms for the work. He owns his legs for the work that they're going to do. And therefore, it is extracting, it is really stealing from the guy and not merely withholding payment. He says, what? He says, stealing from a non-Jew is forbidden, but not returning something that he lost, a lost object, okay, is permissible. Because I told you, we learned a second source. There's a second source that you can't steal. It's slightly different. How do we learn that you can't steal from a non-Jew? So how do we know that we can't steal from a Kanani? As it says, when you're at war with non-Jews, you're allowed to take everything from them. When you're at war, when Hashem is putting them in your hands, when you're busy fighting a war with them to take over, you can take all their possessions. The answer is what? Only when Hashem is giving them over to your hands, then you can take their property. But you're not at battle with them, not taking over, you're forbidden. So that's a second source that you can't steal. And the truth is, it's different from Rikiva's source. But even so, you have no obligation to return his lost object. The Amar, as it says, how do we know that the lost object of a Kanani is mutter and the Jew is not obligated to return it? As it says, it says what? So you shall do with all the lost object of your brother that you find, etc., etc. It says lachicha. It has to be what? It has to be your brother's. Okay, you have to return it to your brother. It says like tashivim lachicha. The answer says you have to return it to your brother. Lachicha. The end of the pasuk. To your brother, you have to return it. You have to return it to a non-Jew. One second. You also have this in Bab Metzia. He says, "What do you mean? How do you say? Maybe it's limited. Maybe the permissibility of not returning lost object is only if you never picked it up. Okay, you're not obligated to go down and trouble yourself to get it, to give it back. But once you picked it up, maybe you have to return it." Amar says no. When it says he lost it and you found it, that means mashma. When you found it, means it already came to your hand. And even so, even when the lost object you already picked it up, even so, you're only to your brother you have to return it, not to a non-Jew.
Unless it's a chilul.
So we're going to come back to that. The Gemara doesn't say it here. But the facts are, it's the same thing. And again, all these things, any case like this, you really should discuss because they're important. They're of extreme importance. Okay, Tanya Repichmas Ben Yor Omer. He says the following: okay, he says, but if there's a place, here we are. Now the Gemara says, in a place with the Schil Hashem, if they'll realize that the Jew didn't return it, I feel of it also. Then even the lost object of a non-Jew, and you have to really deal with these cases very carefully. Amar Shmuel, he says, Ta'uso. What about a mistake? Similar point. Okay, with a non-Jew fooled himself, so to speak, or whatever, as he makes a mistake. Muteris also, you're not obligated to return. Yehad the Shmuel, okay, he lost. You don't have to return it. Yehad the Shmuel Zaban Mikuti Lakna Dahaba B'mar de Parzala. The guy didn't realize that the bowl he was selling was gold. Either it's either gold plated, or he couldn't tell, or he couldn't tell or he couldn't tell the difference between gold and copper or brass, whatever it was. Okay. Bedal Juzi. Now this is a machlokas. Either it was supposed to be paid for the simple way is what that he not only that, but he also paid him one less, or the other way he paid one more to cover the thing. I had a friend. No, he paid him what? No, no. He paid one more because, according to that opinion, Rashi didn't say that, but according to the pay one more because that way, should the guy ever think, he said, "Listen, no, he didn't fool me. The guy paid me more than he was supposed to pay me. He covered himself." According to that opinion, the other way he paid one less, but the one more is to cover it. I had a friend of mine came from a really one of incredible family. So way back when. So the father and the grandfather used to sell suits. Back then, those days, suits had three pieces, with a vest. So what they did was
Two pair of pants.
Oh, two pair of pants. So the father and the grandfather, they bought in bulk. They bought, a watch in the old days used to be a meaningful possession. So they bought in bulk. They bought pocket watches. That's what people used to wear in the back then, early 1900s. So they bought up loads of pocket watches in bulk. And in each suit in the shop, in the vest, they put a pocket watch. So the guy would come in to try on the suit. He'd feel the watches in the thing. He'd say, how do you like it? He says, I like it. I want it. I want this one. He says, oh, okay, good. But we have other ones. I have others. He says, no, I like this one. He says, no, try something. He says, no, I want this one. The guy figures putting some over on them. You understand? So every guy came in, he bought the suit. Every suit had a watch in it. You understand? Every guy thought they put one over on the guys. Anyway, so according to one opinion, you paid him one less. According to one, he paid him one more. You said to cover his base. So we have to talk. It's a big problem. I didn't say what to do. Okay, Rav Kahana Zavi. Okay, so he did the same. Rav Kahana, a similar case. He bought really 120 barrels worth for 100 for the price of 100. And again, either he paid him one less or he paid him one more. Ramarlan, he said to him, Chazi said, look, see, I'm relying on you. He's covering his base. Listen, you're making the accounting. I'm relying on you to know the count. Ravina Zaban Dikla, okay, so Ravina made a partnership with a non-Jew to take a palm tree, and they're going to cut it into sections, and you'll get half, and I'll get half. But the different sections are not the same. The lower ones are thicker than the other ones. But the non-Jew was just going to choose the number of pieces. Ramaleh said to Lishmai, so Ravina said to his servant, take the lower pieces, which are thicker. Okay, the kuti and minyana yad, because this non-Jew is only going to be thinking about the number of pieces he got, not paying attention to the thickness. Ravashi was traveling along the way. So he saw the branches of the grapevine. He's in the orchard, and he sees clusters of grapes that are overhanging the pathway. Amarle, now this and what he said in the end is what he said in the beginning. He doesn't want to, he's such a famous guy. If he tries to buy things from Jews,
They won't ask for money.
They won't take money, and he doesn't want to take gifts. But he knows if he's from a guy, he'll pay him and he'll get it. So Amalei Lishmai, he said to his serving man, Zilchazi Dukutin, he says, if these are non-Jews, then go buy them from me, get them from me. If Israel didn't but if they belong to a Jew, don't get it from me. Why? Because they're not going to take money. Shamu Kuti, but the guy who heard it, so the guy who was sitting there, he heard him, and he said, Amalei said to him, what? To Kuti Shai, what, are you allowed to steal from a non-Jew? Amalei said, no. Kuti Shakodam, he says, no, the point is that what the Kuti, or the person I don't rely on, he'll take money from me, which I want to pay. Yisrael lo shakadami, and the Jew will not take the money. Goof, okay, and that's a good stopping point. We'll call that a daf. Everyone have a wonderful day. Hey, good job.
Anybody going to Russia?
Yeah.
Why there?
Yeah.
And then first day of Russia, Jared Donuts. Second day, relationship. So you can be a but you have workers who work for you and rely on. Therefore, you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
But I did not cite the mail.
No, not the mailman.
You're coming?
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right, let's go, Mel.
3:30.
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
7-1.